have grown. And you started this just as yourself in the beginning, I would imagine, correct?
Working with Solar City in the door-to-door division.
There, my advice, and I'm sure Jimmy would agree, is research the market, right? Like see what you're really getting into. Because Jimmy, you and I could both work hard at something.
Or there could be, potential partnerships where you don't have to do everything yourself.
What's up, everybody? This is Simon. On this podcast, The Ideal Hour, I got someone very special, someone with a large following, a lot of CEO experience on a big growing company. We're going to get to hear how he has built his business. His name is Jimmy Esparza. Jimmy, thank you for coming on to the Ideal Hour podcast. Today, we're going to really talk about how you were able to accomplish so many things. You look like a young man or a young adult, I should say. And that's incredible that you're the CEO of Renewable Power USA. You guys have several locations throughout the country. You're growing. Your Instagram following has quite a few followers. Really nice photos on there. It looks like you're enjoying your life. So in this video, we're going to really just dive into solar, renewable energy, and how you got to where you are.
Thank you very much for the invite, man. Likewise, I've seen some of your stuff and, pretty interesting, lifestyle and education and everything that you have on your platforms. We're really excited to be invited to this hour, to the Ideal Hour.
I really appreciate you making the time. I know you're a busy man, and I'm excited to have you on. I really do want to know how you've managed to grow a business. I think the audience would want to know that. And I think to grow your social media channel seems like it's a business on its own. So we'll get to hear about it. Let's get right into it. What inspired you, or give us a little bit about your life story before you started Renewable Power USA or became the CEO of Renewable Power USA?
A little background, like first generation American. So my family comes from Mexico. Okay. So we came over to this country when I was born. I was born in LA, and then after that, I lived in Mexico for a few years for my first for my childhood. So that's where I lived, and then from there I moved to the United States. And without really knowing English, I was just thrown in school and it's like figured out there's no classes or nothing like that.
I know how that feels, man. We came to America in '91 from Russia when it broke up, and I got thrown into school the same way. In third grade, I had maybe 3 words I knew, and that was it. So I know where you're coming from. So continue.
Yeah, so I think that's how we're going to be dissecting a little bit the whole business aspects of things, and that's a little bit in the same story when it comes to business, right? I never run a business in the past, and I just love the product, jump into it, and I started to create what it is, Renewable Power USA. But we come from Mexico. I come from a background of my parents they both my dad used to work in construction, my mom cleaning houses here in the United States. So I know what it's like to work hard, right? I've gone to I worked in construction for a few days, and my mom took me to clean houses, since I was a kid, and she showed me that, hey, you want to get paid, you got to go out there and you got to work. And pretty quick, I noticed what I didn't want to do. I definitely didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to be cleaning houses or be out in the sun. Especially when I moved to Arizona, 115 degrees.
Oh yeah.
House is not easy. My respects to everybody that's in construction and that does that type of work.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah, no, it's insane, Simon. I'm sure you got through some of those careers as well. But yeah, I got to learn a little bit. I got to be in the labor field, and then after that, I tried to go to college for a little bit, study business administration. Didn't make it. I dropped up out of college, and then I just went straight to sales, and that's where I started my career in business.
That's incredible. So, just to sum it up, your parents are somewhat first generation. You were born here. That you lived back there. You came back, and you saw your mother working hard. You mentioned house cleaning. Your father was working hard to put ends meet, I assume, as well. And it's very similar to my upbringing, where my father was a tailor. My mother had daycare, which is like, I don't know if you've taken care of kids before, or if you have kids. It's not easy to do that for like 12 hours a day times X amount. You know, that's a tough job. Um, and um, and then you also went to college. I went to a community college, and I also kind of dropped out. I said, "What the hell am I doing? Wasting my time." Started some businesses. So we're on a very similar trajectory, and this is kind of why I wanted to reach out and have you on the podcast. That's incredible. Um, for the audience, give them a perspective of how many employees or a round number of how many people or you guys manage nowadays at Renewable Power USA.
We manage our peak 80 80 people. We were approximately, we were 10 employees, and then the rest were contractors, so around 80 people. So we're keeping communication, keeping relationship. We have quite a few thousands of sales, that we manage, that we put in the pipeline, and that we operate. So that's a little bit about, a little bit of on the scale that we have been able to.
Have grown. And you started this just as yourself in the beginning, I would imagine, correct? Or did you have a partner?
No, I start off with myself,
Mhm.
and I started working with Solar City in the door-to-door division.
Oh, wow. Which is like super hard.
Yeah. So, I got an opportunity to work in sales, which I knew I was, somewhat good at, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put my efforts towards, whatever I know that I'm good. And I was like, seems like it was an innovating product. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and start it. And then little by little started to be recognized as one of the top guys in the industry. And then they were bought off by Tesla. And then, they took the opportunity away from the city that I was living, because it's a smaller city. So they
Mhm.
focus on the bigger cities, as for example, Phoenix, LA, and other areas. And they just, remove themselves from the smaller city. So I had to create something. At that time, I recruited my brother, my cousin,
Oh,
my
nice.
in-law, and because to me it was a huge opportunity. It's like, man, where can you make this type of money selling, something, a really cool product where you get to help people, you get to make a really good amount of money. Excited about it. And
And being a growing industry, like, guys, for the channel, my father's a tailor, his mother was cleaning houses. There's only so much scalability in that regard, being a tailor, cleaning homes, etc. And oftentimes, people mix up like, I work hard, but maybe they're not in the right industry, or maybe they're not working smart. And there's a difference between working hard or being in the perfect time, perfect industry. And if you guys ever start a business out there, my advice, and I'm sure Jimmy would agree, is research the market, right? Like, see what you're really getting into. Because Jimmy, you and I could both work hard at something day and night, but the results could not be there based on the timing, the industry, or what we are doing. Would you agree with that, Jimmy?
yeah, 100%. I think it's just analyzing and say, can I scale? Am I able to, get to move up or be in another level? That way I'm not stuck in a similar situation. Because I think a lot of the frustrations and the reason why a lot of people are unhappy is just because, they're constantly doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results, right? And but if you're in a situation where, you could grow, you could scale, you can, improve your life, and, even your family's life, and even others' life, I think that's where, things get really exciting, and you really push, and you push levels that you never even dream of.
When you originally started Renewable Power, were you scared to jump into a business? Like, were you nervous? Was this a big investment? Like, it's not easy to start a business. A lot of people think you do it, and there are peaks and highs and lows. But like, were you nervous about doing it and taking that jump?
I was, to be honest with you, I was nervous. I was scared. I was in the middle of getting married. I was engaged, so I needed to pay for the wedding, and I needed to, just have a place to live for my fiance. So, and I decided to pull the trigger, and I think I I give a lot of respect to my wife, because she was also there. She believed in me, and she said, "Yeah, I think you should do it. You've been thinking about opening up a business, for a while. Just give it a shot." And obviously that, ultimately encouraged me to, to go all in. And I knew, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I'm gonna go out there, sell the product, and I know how to sell it. You know, if I have to be a one man, two-man show, I mean, it's okay. I think we still be able to survive. But ultimately, I wanted to just help the people that follow me,
Yeah.
and that believe me, and I just wanted to make sure that they were taken care of. And I said, you know what? You know, I'm sure I can make it happen.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You know what? A lot of people talk about this on the podcast and in general in communications that I've had. It's so important to have an encouraging spouse or life partner because I feel like on the trajectory of life, they're either slowing you down or really motivating you. And I'm sure you have friends where you've seen both sides as well and experienced a joy of that side.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's either a woman could make you, it could break you, right? Because and I think if there's a good, clear communication, you know, between the woman and the man, you know, when they're married, I think it makes things a lot smoother, and I
Yeah.
think it definitely helps a lot, you know, because
Makes a big difference. So, along this journey of building renewable power USA, give me some lessons that you've learned, some hardships that you've faced where you're like, guys, I've, this is one thing I've learned, or a few things, and this is some things to look out for, but don't give up, whatever. What have you experienced?
I think one of the biggest experiences, you don't have to make the mistakes yourself. There's a lot of resources, especially nowadays, where you could, you know, consume like information, valuable information to whatever is it that you're doing. Or there could be, you know, potential partnerships where you don't have to do everything yourself, and you know, and they can speed up things a lot faster. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things that was able to help us, you know, scale and even grow and get to where we are now. And I think one of the biggest lessons too is taking care of your relationships, the people that helped you, the people that, you know, gave you an opportunity. I think that's huge, and a lot of people, um, you know, are just like transactional nowadays. They forget to
Yeah.
have that, you know, human touch with, you know, vendors or people that support you, or people that have given you an opportunity in the past. And it's just, don't never really burn a bridge, because you never know. And I think that's
That's great advice, Jimmy. Actually, it's very first of all, be humble, right? Like take care of everyone. One hand washes the other, and the people that are helping you get those contracts or working that extra that you normally just say a normal thank you, maybe going above and appreciating with a thank you letter, a card, whatever. Just showing that extra touch to not burn that bridge. I totally agree. Um, you know, it's not easy building a business, and I think you understand that concept. For me, the first point you mentioned, where you were talking about having kind of like not researching the topic yourself, because you look like the type of guy, and definitely the type of guy that wants to know how to do everything or wants to understand something. And men are in general like that. We want to be problem solvers or solution solvers. We want to solve the puzzle. But what happens in business, and I learned the hard way, is if you don't subcontract out to a specialist and you try to figure things out yourself, and you may figure it out, it's just going to take you a long time, or you're going to have to redo it, right? Like with a professional.
100%. Is like, you got to pick the battles, right? and
Yeah.
and some battles are not for you. People that are better than you at it, and you got to be okay with, you know, stepping away and focus on what you're good at, right? And I think, yeah, I think that's huge. I think a lot of that happens, I think, in any industry. It's like, oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to do it myself, well, I'm going to start doing it. But then sometimes even like one area in your business is a full extension of a business, that there's a lot of income that you have to invest, a
Yeah.
lot of people that need to actually create, you know, that side of the business, that people don't, they only see the exterior, but they don't see like what's really.
Yeah, what's inside that takes to get to that level. And it's so crucial and important. And I'm learning myself, even with the businesses I have, that's how you scale. Because, guys, audience, if you listen to this and you get one thing, in the beginning, you do things yourself and then you multiply that to X amount. So you bring in a second person. Now you're double as productive if they're a great person. You bring another person. Now you're adding 33% and so forth and so forth, and you're really pushing yourself to maximize your potential. Jimmy, you would agree with me. You wouldn't be here without your team. There's no way you could do it all.
I owe it a lot to my team, operations, sales, contractors, finance companies, and everybody that plays a role in whatever, whatever we do, because that's kind of one of the biggest things is like, we all need each other. And I think, if you're able to work as a team and understand that, I think you definitely go, further than just trying to do it everything yourself. That's where you end up staying small.
All right, so let's get in a little bit more into renewable energy. What are some of the latest trends you're seeing in, say, solar or renewable energy? Like what are you focusing on, or what would you say is important in that space right now?
I think one of the things that's really important is we've been innovating a lot, the way that we do business. And one of the things is like developing a lot, developing the technology behind the sales process, and also connecting and partnering up with people that do similar things that we're doing, because we're trying to get to a whole different level. Like we have a $1 trillion industry that we're competing against, and we need more even of us, right? Like I also need an extension of some of the things that I'm doing, so we could really capitalize in a good percentage of what the industry is all about. So that's one of the things that we've been working pretty hard, like connecting and figuring out a way how we could work together with more companies that do some of the things that we're doing as well, and just work as a team and just really capitalize on the whole industry. And that also includes innovating with the products that we're giving, providing more education to our customers, and
Partnerships.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And you are partnered with Tesla. Is that through a company or is that directly with Tesla?
We have a contract with Tesla, so we could offer their battery systems, which is pretty cool. We got a full certification on that, so we could install those batteries to homeowners that are interested in backup power.
Yeah, I looked into that. I actually put a bid on it on a project I have going on, and then they came out with the Tesla roof and so forth. I haven't gotten there yet, but I have a buddy that installed the Tesla backup batteries, and he sells his energy back to the local companies and so forth, and with solar. So it's pretty neat. And I in California, there's a lot of solar incentive right now. Is there a lot of solar incentive nationwide for people to upgrade their homes?
Nationwide, there is a 30% tax credit if you're doing solar, and then you could even actually include any energy efficiency. So that's AC unit, roofing. You could actually finance it with even the solar program, and then you add everything up, and whatever 30% of that is, you get it as a tax credit. So
That's really good. I mean, that's incredible. And the state may offer an additional credit, right? In some cases, I would imagine.
yeah, so there's some states that have $1,000 credit as well, and there are even some states and utilities that give a actual check for going solar, 6,000, 3,000, depending on the system size, which is pretty cool.
That is very cool. That's definitely making me want to upgrade. so so hey, if you could save some money on taxes and get some new technology, why not do it? It almost sells itself. And a lot of people also, there's a lot of old roofs out there. So I would imagine that people are, instead of say replacing their roof, are maybe potentially converting, doing that at the same time as they are doing solar on a roof. Would that be accurate to say?
There's a lot of the roofs that we encounter, like they need some improvement, so they're gonna do it anyway. So they take advantage of doing it right there and there, so they could get that tax credit and combine it and take full advantage of the savings. And then the cool thing also, we offer like really good low interest rates. Like we're
Mm.
pretty much one of the best in the markets. As far as the interest rates, we're not as high like as 7. We're like in the lows 4.
Oh, nice. That's really good rate compared to what's out there.
Yeah, it's really neat, and we're grateful enough to still have those rates at the moment. So it attracts a lot of the clients. And if anybody that's listening, and they come through us because of what you guys are doing, we can arrange a good deal for them as well. So
Oh, that's very kind. And we'll put your links in, obviously, below. You'll get a copy. You could share this stuff and see how, if we could create a solar buzz going and so forth. Or renewable energy buzz, I would say that would be dope. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about managing people and motivating people. Right, you're the CEO. You're the Tony Soprano, let's say, of your team. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but I've been watching The Sopranos. So you're the top dog. You are sitting in a position where each decision you make has a very big effect on the journey or the trajectory of that decision. That's pretty stressful, one. But how do you also manage your team to make sure that they make good decisions and they stay motivated?
Great question. Absolutely everything that, decision that we make, as far as the executive team, I'm grateful to have also a good executive team that backs me up. But one of the ways that, I try to keep it, fun, and keep everybody on their toes and learning and making sure that we're doing the best that we can. We try to build a good culture around it, right? Where we make it a goal to really be the best that we can at what we're doing. And we have activities, we have incentives, we have bonuses and things like that, right? There's a lot of many ways that we do it. But I think ultimately the recipe of Renewable Power USA, that everybody knows and feels like they're part of the family, and I think that's huge, because, I tell the guys too, you might not see me every day, whoever is it that works with us in different departments, but that, I'm working for you guys as well, and that's my job. Like I'm always constantly working on bringing you value, sustainability, as far as, you being part of this company and making sure that this company is here to stay for many years. And they know that, they 100% know that. And I try to also keep them up to date and make sure that even the people that help me manage, other people, I want to make sure that they're taking care of those people the same way that I do, from the executive team down.
Getting back to the Sopranos, just like Tony Soprano, you make sure everybody eats, feels safe, and is comfortable. Of course, it's a different industry, but that summed it up. I think, guys, what I get from Jimmy with that is, hey, take care of your team. They're gonna take care of you. Be honest with them. Be transparent. Make sure there's no shady stuff, and really and really just try to make them feel like family, because ultimately you're building this baby, which you have a lot of competition, but you want to be the top of that competitive ladder. And you can't do that if your team is not motivated, if they're not hungry, if they're not properly utilized. I think that's another, or they don't work well together. So Jimmy, in his team of 80 or so at its peak, has to put the right pieces together. He has to make sure the people work together well and so forth. And I haven't had that many employees at one point, but I've had quite a few. And I do agree with you. You got to build security. I think security is such a big thing nowadays, especially where we live in the Bay Area. People hop jobs every year and a half. Do you get that at all where you're at, Jimmy?
Of course, we do have, people bouncing, and some of the people, they see it, they think sometimes the grass is greener, in another side, or
Yeah.
it's easier, if you go over here or you go there. But at the end of the day, we also really straight, forward too. Is like there's going to be hard times.
Yeah.
There's going to be some, you're going to have, and normally it's like you have your peak, like you probably, encounter probably one of the best jobs you have ever have, and even in income wise, especially the sales guys, income wise, is probably going to be the best income you have ever made in your life. But they're also, maybe there's going to be a year or a year and a half there, you're going to have some tough times. You might,
Yeah.
be burning out a little bit. People are going to try to poke you. They're
Yeah.
going to try to bring you on board, and tell you that this is going to happen, it's better over here because of this and this and that. We go through those challenges, but I try to, let them know, and have our trainers to let them know, like, hey, you might come across this, and if that happens, just think about it, before you do it, because you already built some relationship here with us. We appreciate your business, and in order for you to start again, you're just gonna pretty much reset, and it's tough to rebuild those relationships. Sometimes a lot of people don't get to rebuild them again, and they just reset and reset and reset, and they become old, and they're like, wow.
Yeah, and then they're out of a job and they're complaining because they think something is wrong with everybody else versus looking at themselves in the mirror and going, "Hey, what did I do to get to this level?" Right? That's always the challenge. I feel like the people that leave and hop around are always going to do that. That's what they do. It's kind of an unsettlement in some way to put it. Let's talk a little bit about partnerships. I feel like partnerships in business are maybe some of the most important things that you could do to scale. Obviously, not only to offer the best possible product for install, in your case, maybe offer your own product in the future and distribute it, whatever that may be. But how important are partnerships, and how important is it that you maintain that relationship, or what do you do to make sure that relationship is solid in a continuing way to continue business?
I think one of the best way to keep the relationship is you adding value to whatever is it that they're doing, right? A lot of the times I have sat down with their partners and see and ask them, like, how can I add value, and and not take things personal, right? Because a lot of the times it's not usually the only partnership that big players have that understanding, and just ask and say, how can I add value to you? And I think the best partnerships are where there's a good relationship, where you genuinely like this person, right? And then one of the most important things is business, right? So it's like you have to be bringing in business, you have to be adding that value. And if you're not adding that value, then you got to understand, like, hey, you're maybe not getting the attention because you're not adding the value. And if maybe you need help, then just go out and seek the help, and maybe let your partner know, hey man, like, I'm going through this, I want to continue to add value, but do you have some insight on how I could grow, or how I could give you that value that you need? And a lot of the times they're open, and they're like, hey, let's do this and this and this. And then I think that goes a long way, other than being always just really greedy and say, oh well, I want this out of you, and I want this, and I want this. And a lot of the
Right.
times people don't look at what value they're bringing, before they go out and they ask and they demand and they do this and this and that, right? And I think being humble and saying, okay, maybe I'm not getting that because I need to do this, you know, I think that definitely makes a big difference.
That's great. I learned a little bit of something as well. Typically, when a lot of people come into a partnership, in my experience, they'll try to sell themselves as the king. They're gonna sell more panels than the next guy, and they're gonna act. And they sold themselves as something that they are not, potentially, right? Or try to get that contract. And oftentimes, when they're not meeting that quota, I find it that they're a little bit scared to approach the dealer or the partner or the distributor and say, "Hey, how can I do better? What can I do more, etc." They're just worried because maybe they're either going to lose that potential contract, or they don't know how to approach the distributor. I think one thing you pointed out is, guys, if you're going to partner with somebody, be ready to hear them out, to have them guide you. And that kind of goes back to what Jimmy was saying earlier, is like, don't try to do it all yourself or figure it out yourself. Let the specialist, again, give you the insight, and then up that insight to where you need to be, or to get to the level that you wish to be at and they feel comfortable. Jimmy also mentioned something really good. And Jimmy, I sold for 15 plus years now welding machines from China. We would import our own, brand our own. We would sell them to Home Depot and Lowe's and so forth, and compete with two big companies, Miller Electric and Lincoln Electric, which are public welding manufacturers. Now they're on a different scale. We're a small P, but when I would have a distributor and the distributor would have other customers, when I was younger, I would take it personally if another person entered the market. You know what I mean? And they would take my region, or they would come out with a cheaper price. Now I'm competing with price. But what Jimmy said is very essential, guys. If you get a competitor, or if you get another person coming at you from that same channel of distribution, don't take it personal. it's business. They are providing numbers. You are better off going back in and saying, hey, how could I be the top one, or what can I do to sell more? What do you recommend, etc. Very good points, Jimmy. Thank you for sharing that.
It's really, really huge is that, it sometimes you're gonna take hits. Sometimes you're gonna, it's hard for people to stay humble and like stay right and say, okay, I'm not there yet, but I will, and I'm gonna continue to work hard until I get to where I want to get to, and I think that's where a lot of we struggle. Even I think everybody struggles, right? To say like, hey, take it easy, you will get there. Just work on what you have to work on, and eventually you're gonna get to where you want to get to. But yeah, man, I love that. I love how you the way that you were talking about it, and that's I get that's in every business. I guess.
Jimmy, thanks for sharing those points. I completely in agreement with partnerships and really just coming back to the partners and getting the most out of what they can offer you, being patient. Let's talk about a little bit about your social media presence. I've got a chance to not only follow you on Instagram, but check out some of your pictures, and it looks like you travel a lot. You're doing some speaking engagements. You're really trying to push this renewable energy. Tell me how social media has been for you. What have you learned from it? What's the joy of it? Is it important? Just go into the brief part or whatever you want to share about social media, because it's quite interesting.
Oh, absolutely. In the beginning, I didn't really like social media, to be honest with you. I it started off by, dating, like in the beginning before even the business. That's the good way to, to connect with some people. And then when we got into business, like it was to get more clients, right? In the beginning stages, so people can know who I am. And in the game of, from a business, right? Especially if you're in sales and you have to bring in some sales and attract clients, like people want to research who we are, right? They want to know like who is behind the brand or who is the brand. And that's where it triggers like, okay, if I want to talk to more people, I want more of what I'm doing, then not only do I need to talk to people in person, but I also gotta have like clone myself through social media, right? I think that was the whole concept behind what we're doing. It hasn't been easy, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And I'm sure I mean, you have amazing social medias as well, and I've
Thank you.
seen them. But I think that was a whole concept, and one of the noble side of the social media is I wanted to encourage other people and show them too, like, hey, it's possible. I literally come from a lower middle class, income, and it's like from a working class that you're able to, to push your other levels and, build 7 to 8 figure, businesses. And I want to show them a little bit about the life and some of the things that you're capable of doing it because um, you know, I think if it wasn't because of social media, my dreams would have been smaller too. I think because I was able to see other people's lifestyle, different worlds and, what other people are doing. And that got me excited to, dream a little bigger and try to, to seek for a better life ultimately.
I agree. I think social media, if you if you digest it in the right way, meaning you're not, people go on it and they may be jealous of what someone is doing, or they may be upset they are not doing that at that moment. And then it could also be such an encouragement. You could look at one of these, say, exotic car collectors and say, man, I want to have a car like that. That's pretty cool. And it just kind of amps you. It's almost social media and Instagram could be like your scrolling vision board of what you want to attract, right? And it's like it could be so encouraging where you follow the people, and I always recommend you follow people that encourage you or try to level you up. And yeah, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't see what's possible, right? You come from a working family, and I'm sure because of where you grew up or in your working family neighborhoods and areas, you didn't get to see those lavish houses, those nice vacations until you start following people outside of that area or around the world, I should say. And I've done the same thing. I tend to follow people that encourage me and inspire, and I think that is a very good point to anyone watching is, hey, follow people that you want to be like, versus people that you are dodging, avoiding, or you have negative energy towards, or people that have negative energy towards you, and that's going to level you up. You also have been featured in some Forbes articles, some New York Weekly articles, American Weekly articles, Disrupt Magazine. Tell me a little bit about that.
Thank God I've been able to create really good relationships in business in general. And the one of the reasons that we got into Forbes is because we got nominated entrepreneurs 30 under 30 last year. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
with Forbes, and then they wrote an article about us, and we got into that realm of Forbes and articles. And little by little, we just started. People started hearing the story, and then they wanted to know a little bit more. And then we got connected, and our marketing team does a great job too to reaching out to people, and so they could distribute some of our stories. And that's one of the ways that we've been able to be featured in those articles. But it's been fun, and it was a little scary in the beginning, because it's like this is something that nobody around my circle has been able to accomplish. Just like I was saying, coming from a lower middle class, it's something that you don't really imagine you're able to do. But
Yeah.
to be honest, is and something to add to what you were saying, that it might go a little viral once we were talking about, like a lot of the people in my neighborhood, like if you were doing something good or driving nice cars or exotic cars and nice houses, like everybody thought they were drug dealers, because that's the people that were having those stuff. And so
Yeah, no, I know. I can imagine. And it's interesting how in certain neighborhoods that seems to be the way or the escape. And this kind of brings me back to a picture that someone showed me the other day. I don't remember if it was a guest on the podcast. It was basically a picture of a lawyer, a criminal, a police officer, and a judge, and they were all the same race, right? And it just says, "Hey, choose who you want to be in life." There's different positions. There's no limitations in America that I personally know of, and I think you're a living example of how one generation of being here, no matter who you are or where you're from, you could really do better for your family and really scale up. Not easy, but it's totally possible here. And you're not limited, in my opinion, here by your skin color, it's work ethic, how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, your character inside versus the outside. We talked a little bit about inside, outside. And, there are good people in every culture. There are bad people in every culture, right? But raising that view of what you can be, either by getting away through social media or whatever, really helps. And it really helps level you up. So I'm glad you didn't join the people in the neighborhood that were riding dirty or whatever they call it, and you did something. I also had similar upbringing. There's some people that I've known that have done bad things, and that wasn't my trajectory. It wasn't what I wanted to be ultimately, and I think you, as a business owner in this case, you're long-term thinking. I mean, you're building a brand, you're building a company. In my opinion, any of those other companies or any of those other deals that these people tend to do at a young age that are going in the wrong path, that's very short-term thinking. From experience and from seeing it, people that think that you could get a side hustle and get a little money here and there, that money always fades. It's not something that you could pass down to your kids. It's not something that you're proud of ultimately. You can't carry yourself in certain circles. So the Tony Soprano mentality, get back to him for some reason, only will carry you for so many years. And doing something the right way, the honest way, etc., is the way to do it. What about let's talk about some of your most memorable moments building this company, maybe funny moments, and we're gonna get off that. We'll talk a little bit about personal life, and because I like to bring what makes Jimmy Jimmy, what brings you as a one whole character, wholesome, etc. So we'll get to know a little bit about you personally, but building this company, what you built, you mentioned 7 figures, 8 figures. Uh, What are some of the funniest things or some of the most memorable moments that have happened during this
I
journey?
think one of the funniest and good moments is just starting the company, right? Just starting the company. We didn't have a finance department, and we used to pay. We will sign all the documents, right, and all the contracts and everything. And we didn't really know how to work the system of payroll, or I didn't have anybody full time doing the payroll. So I was like, okay, people need to get paid on time, and that was, to me, it was huge, right? And I had somebody part time working in the administration, so it wasn't such a great, service. And it's like, oh, well, it's just the bank. Call the bank, and the payroll's not working. I was like, I'm gonna go pull up cash from the bank, and I will, and I'll pay everybody. And I didn't even have an office at the time. We were working from home, and and my brother's a musician, so he sometimes we'll have some drinks, and he will jump out, and then I will bring in all the guys that used to work with us to the house, and and I'll have a stash of cash, and I will pay him, and then I'll invite him a drink, and he
Oh,
will be playing songs, and and it was funny, man. And it was such a good time. I think it was some really good moments that we were able to to enjoy, and just grow the company and just have a good time.
do you ever look back at those moments as they were like your favorable, where what you described to me sounds very wholesome. It sounds very, a lot of people I know, they love that startup mentality, that startup feel of a company where you feel like you're just laying down that foundation, you're building the pillars, or you're building the framing of a house. And a lot of people enjoy that. Is that to you some of the best moments in building it?
Those has been one of the fun moments and
Mhm.
a really humble experience. But I think just the fact that I seen how ultimately I believe in God, right, and how God has been able to help to do what we've been able to do. And every time that we hit a milestone that it just impresses me. I'm like, wow, like I never really believed we were capable to get to the stage of things that we're doing, even though we went through times where we didn't have no investors, we
Yeah.
didn't have any partners, and it wasn't easy, right? Being the only crazy guy that's like, oh, this is what we're gonna do, this is where we're gonna get to, talking every, and every, like, just selling the vision in every meeting, and sometimes getting frustrated. It's like, damn, people don't get it. Like, they like, well, I was already there, and then people, and not necessarily, but I just sense like not everybody wants it as bad as I want. And I was like, well, that was fine. But through those hard moments, I kept on pushing and I kept on moving forward, and thank God, it's things move forward, and now we're in a much way better spot than we were,
Position.
last year.
So it sounds to me, Jimmy, that never quitting was a very big thing, and it doesn't sound like every deal you've tried to do. Like you're not 100% shot for shot on everything that you've done, and you didn't let that discourage you, right? You just kept pushing and pushing and pushing.
No, 100%, man. I miss so much more than I've actually, actually closed, deals, contracts, partnerships, and things like that. So I think just being able to push forward, believing in the mission, and believing in my people too, encouraging my people, I think it has been, it has been a great experience.
That's great, man. All right, let's talk a little bit about personal life. What do you do for fun
For fun,
aside work?
side work. No, honestly, I enjoy my work. I enjoy it. Now my parties are in networking events. That those are my parties now, right?
I see. Before it was the club, now it's a networking event.
Sure, man. It was a club. Now it's networking events. Just going out and meeting people, and just talking business and life. But for fun, I enjoy. I enjoy going to the gym in the mornings. Um, what else do we do? I mean, I like off-roading, hanging out with my brothers and my dad. We go out and we shoot. We go to the shooting range, and we go off-roading. In Arizona, there's a lot of desert, so we're and go out and just have some fun and
So some guy time, that's important. It you know it I feel like also a big thing you mentioned is you like to work out in the morning. I find that to be a very successful trait from a lot of people that are organized, successful, highly motivated. Do you feel like when you miss workouts in the morning, you're just like, man, something's off? Or do you remind yourself, hey, I'll catch it another time? Or are you hard on yourself if you miss workouts? I guess is the question.
If I don't get a good workout, like I'm not feeling at my best, in business, and yeah, I'm pretty hard on when it comes to that, and I try to almost work out every single day so I could have that natural energy.
What about when you are, let's say everything's going well in business, when things don't go well or you missed a workout, you're mentally not there. Tell the audience, what do you recommend they do to change that mindset, right? Like, you and I can't come in, or anybody, even Michael Jordan, I would imagine, can't come in every day happy as a clam, or really in that positive mindset 100% of the time. Negative thoughts enter. What do you do to reset yourself? What do you do to calm yourself, to refocus your negative thoughts, or however you want to spin it? But I'm sure it happens to you, right? Or you are one off that I've met.
No, no, 100%. I mean, it happens. You're one day you're extremely excited about this deal that happened and this thing that's going on. A couple hours later, you get some crazy news about something that's going on, and you're like, damn, like, can I just enjoy a day or 2 days, right? But at the end of the day, the fact that just having faith, I think that's the biggest thing. Having faith and understanding that things will get better. To me, it's prayer time. In the morning too, keeping myself sharp, praying in the morning, and looking at my goals and the vision, and knowing exactly what I want. A vision. I have like a virtual vision board on my phone that that I look at every day. It keeps me like concentrated and on the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And it has all type of motivations in there.
Go into some briefly, like, is it a house? Is it a yacht? Is it a family? Kids? What's on your vision board?
Yeah, and on my vision board is I think one of the digging deep inside of it. So some of it is material stuff, but if you go deeper into it, is like just the amount of people that will be able to impact. And to me, I'm a believer in God, and it's like just by me being an example, how God did what He did with me, and people get to see that. I think that's the ultimate goal, and I would want to like inspire and help millions of people throughout that. And I know once that happens, like anything in material. I love watches. I seen your YouTube videos. You have a good, cool watch
Well, thank
collection.
you.
So it's a mixture of like, how beach house, like yacht, and some other cars, some other watches too. And what a picture obviously of my family, my kids, and how they look like when they grow up, and also with my parents, my brothers, just people that I love, and having like pictures that we will be, right, places that we will be at, or houses that we will live in, things like that.
That's wonderful, man. It sounds like you appreciate the fine things in life, but you understand the true value comes in the deeper core stuff, such as family and upbringing and religion and giving back and so forth. So that's wonderful. And finally, you mentioned you're married, and you have children. Is that how many kids?
I have a baby girl. She's about to be 2, and I've been married for 6 years already.
Wow, congratulations. How do you juggle, how do you getting sleep? How do you juggle your time with sleep, the gym, managing a company and so forth, and really staying productive?
Definitely not easy, but I do give a lot of credit to my wife. She's patient. She understands, like, there's a lot of work behind it. But I also try to save the time, and I'm always protecting the time with my family. So if it doesn't, if it's gonna get me away from my family, I typically say no, unless it's something that I really
Have to
have to
do.
do in business, right?
Mhm.
And some people could, I don't want to say I lost friends, but I just lost some communication with, even sometimes family members, not because I want to, right? Just because I have to, just protect my wife, my daughter, and then my mom, my brothers, you know, and then work. And that's what I, get a chance to really connect.
I always said, when you have a family, that's the immediate concern, right? And it sounds to me, and uh, to summarize it, in my view of what you've said, is hey, you have your family, that's your number one attention. Your business in that regard is number two because they help feed your family and they help you prosper and so forth. And then everything else is like noise, right? So you could choose to see who you want to give attention to in that regard. But as I think you get older, and I've seen as I get older, I tend to get a smaller circle of distraction or friendships. Tend to stick to a few hobbies, and then enjoy my time with the family that much more, knowing it's genuine. And then I find it, and you mentioned, all these events and networking. I find networking and meeting people like yourself is just as rewarding as having a normal conversation with some random person or even a friend, if not even more rewarding than, at a wine event or at a bar or whatever, where you get, it's nice to catch up, but it's also cooler, in my opinion, to hear about someone that just, got funded for $100 million or whatever. And now they're doing six different things and they're creating some type of product no one has. I find those conversations more interesting, worthy of my time than some random conversation of even some people I grew up with. So I think you kind of said the same thing, and sometimes it's family members too. It's like, hey, you're only limited to so much time, right, in the day, and to be able to justify giving everybody that amount of time is not easy, and it's maybe impossible. So you got to pick and choose. And guys, if you're out there, you're trying to start a business, you're trying to scale it, you're trying to start a family, you're trying to be a good husband, you're giving your time to your faith, you're giving a time to your family members. That's not really easy to do, and do it every day. That's like the big thing, right? A lot of people could start a business tomorrow, but are they gonna, for 4 years, grind it out, 5 years until they really see a profit turn? Jimmy, anything else you want to add? You kind of gave me where you see yourself in a little bit of time, but if you want to tell me where you see yourself in, 5, 10 years, whether it's on the coast by a beach or same chair or a bigger building, what do you think?
Yeah, 5 years from now. Yeah, it's an exciting 5 years from now. The goal is to just grow the business, keep on giving quality time to my family, and in a nice, beautiful beach, up in the mountains, and just have, build the company, and have it scale and be focusing in other areas to give back, and just, make this world, a better place. But within 5 years from now, if with God's will, it's just scale the business, building our company, and adding a lot of value and giving back, and to things that will help and serve, and make a better world. And that's ultimately where I do see it with my family and with the people that are around me and that I love.
That's wonderful, man. You're going to enjoy the journey, it sounds like. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We will go ahead and link all of your information below. Guys, if you want to check out Jimmy, I'm going to link his Instagram channel. I'm going to go ahead and share his company information as well, in case you guys ever need to reach out to him for any of the things that he offers, or even if you have questions. I'm sure he seems like he loves giving back. He'll respond. Jimmy, thanks for taking the time, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And truly a pleasure. It's cool to see someone that stays so humble, so grounded, at the same time has really big vision, and has not been given anything, and it looks like you've done it all yourself. So that to me is a win in my book, and a win in a lot of people's books. And there's nothing wrong with having money and doing something right with it, or being a kid of a parent, in my opinion, that really has been giving everything, but does the right thing with everything he's been given. But there's also something to say about the journey of having nothing and building it yourself. But one day you and I are going to be older. We're going to have to pass that torch down, right, to our kids. And I hope that they do the right things with what we've built. So cheers. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Jimmy. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for everybody and all the audience to that stay tuned through the end, and thank you for the space, man. I really really appreciate that.
I had a great time. I know the people will enjoy it. Great story, man. Thank you. Talk later.